saying that I wish you would die. All I'm saying is I wouldn't mind. While I'm sleeping, you're up scheming that when I wake up you'll be 1,300 miles away. And if it all goes to plan, you'll never have to see my face again. You'll never even have to face the consequences for the things that you've done. And it's hard to hate someone who did you the world's greatest favor. World's greatest favor. And it's hard to hate someone, but I promise I'll try. Nothing went quite as planned. You fell on your face again, 'cause you couldn't just keep your mouth shut about the shit that you've done. 'Cause your friends ran their mouths, and everybody found out. And now you have to look everyone in the eye instead of disappearing in the middle of the night. Yet it's hard to hate someone who did you one's greatest favor. One's greatest favor. Yet it's hard to hate someone, but I promise I'll try. When it's hard to hate someone who did you the world's greatest favor. World's greatest favor. Yet it's hard to hate someone, but I promise I'll try. And I'm not saying that I wish you would die. All I'm saying is that I wouldn't mind. And it's hard to hate someone, but I promise I'll try. And I promise I'll try. And I promise I'll try. And I promise I'll try. Fuck!
Hey everybody, Jess here with Skagazine. Eric
Hey,
and Punk Rock
Jess.
and my co-host are joining me, and we have a very special guest today, Benny Capaul from The Boy Detective, which is a band out of Michigan. I don't know that you've heard of them or not. I have, luckily, because I have lots of friends in Michigan, but we want to help introduce them to everyone else.
If
What's
you
up, guys?
haven't heard of Boy Detective, like you need to. All right, this is like Michigan's little secret, okay? I promise you within the next 2 years, Boy Detective will be like hot on the scene. So Croydon, Supernova, fucking Steel City, like pay attention to these guys. You're gonna want them now. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Jess. I'm doing
Awesome.
very
Glad to
good.
hear it.
I've had a good week. I went to a show last weekend, not Ska. I went and saw Checker. If you're not familiar with Checker, you can't find them online. They have one music video, I think, online, and maybe one song on Bandcamp, but I love them so much.
Okay.
But I went and saw them Saturday, and this week I'm seeing Boy Detective in 2 days on Thursday. Tomorrow I'm gonna go see St. Thomas. So I got a
Nice.
fun week lined up this week. How about you, Jess? What do you got in store?
I went to no shows this past week, believe it or not. After my face-to-face Triple Crown, I needed a week off.
Fair.
And this weekend I have Stop the Presses with K-Man and the Upfucks at Broken Goblet. Looking forward to that one.
That is going to be amazing. Hey, I got an idea. So we have the same show coming up here. I mean, minus
Yeah.
whoever the opening band is, they're
The
probably not
Upfucks,
coming.
yeah.
I don't remember our opening band. You want to do a wager? Like, I bet we'll get more people to go than you.
I bet you will.
Wow, that's not a good wager. That's pretty fucked up, Jess. All right. Never
I
mind.
mean, honestly, you guys have a better scene than we do here. We're
All right.
working on it.
You got to work on that. People
We
go.
are working on it.
Have you seen? You haven't seen Cayman,
I
right?
have not. I've seen Stop the Presses quite a few times. I love them. I've seen the Up Fox, but no, never K-Man.
Oh, I've
You
seen.
guys get some great shows at Broken Goblet, though.
We do, but we could use a much better turnout, honestly.
Benny's being really quiet. Cayman, have you seen Cayman, Benny?
I have not. Isn't that the Detroit Red'em crew are playing with them in our? I think that's part of it.
No,
Or the Stop the Presses.
Are they playing that one?
Yeah, I think they are because I remember reaching out to Eric and I was like, "Hey, can you
Poor guy.
a detective play?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, Benny, it's already booked." I'm like, "Oh,
Damn it!
oh." I love Stop the Presses. I love the dancing. That
Oh yeah, it's the
wild
best.
and bonkers. I have not seen K-Man.
Why have you not done a Ska Thursday yet? Do you know what I'm talking about, Benny?
Yes, absolutely. With Killer Diller, and it's really cool. That they're asking Jaredin, our trombone, to play for a couple shows, so he is
Nice.
going to fill in for them. I think it's coming. I think for a while they probably just didn't know if we wanted to do it. Maybe. I think we surprised everybody when we kind of came out of nowhere. Because every time like we play, I always hear like, "Where have you? How long have you been a band?" And I'm
Yep.
like, "Well, technically, we've been a band since 2017, but honestly, we haven't even played shows until 2020." And then, of course, COVID hit. So that was the problem. Like right when we were ready to hit the stage, per se, my band and then me on the floor, COVID hit. So we didn't really start until 2022, and then it was off the hook from there. And it's been absolutely wonderful because it's the opportunity. I ask anybody who's listening, just give us a chance. And as much as I love our recordings, our live show is 100% different.
I agree with you. Like I saw Lager House. I went to that Lager House show. My first time seeing you was at Lager House show with who was it? Killer Diller, The Traders, and was it Kingpin?
Yep.
And I fell in love with you guys. Like 5 minutes in, I know I say this about every band I see, Jess. I'm sorry, but like you need to see Boy Detective live
Eric's a
to get
ska
like
whore.
this show. Would you agree, Ryan?
Oh, absolutely. I was at that same show.
Are you
We
sure
didn't
you
really
were there?
meet that. We didn't really meet that night, but yeah, I was down there with Chris and Joel, skanking away, and yeah, my mind was freaking blown. I was thinking, oh, this guy must be down here because there's no room on the stage. And
I
then
thought
Killer
the
Diller
same
got up
thing.
there afterwards. I was like, holy shit, these guys are dodging horns while they're playing.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful, and our goal is to give out as much energy as we can, because the thing is, and what I have found is the more energy I give out, the more energy I usually get back, and it's just like this full circle thing, and it is so wonderful when you get to the point now that people are singing along to your gang, because we use a lot of gang vocals, so that has always been wonderful. Our my guitarist and me have been writing music for close to 20 years now, and honestly he was always huge into the big Newfound Glory gang vocals, and since then we've always infused them into our lyrics, and it's wonderful because everybody can be a part of it. And it gets to the point where I remember the first show where everybody was singing "Just Get Me Back to My Couch," and I was like, okay, I think we're doing okay. I think this is working, because that was another thing too. We grew up on Suicide Machines, obviously being in Michigan, and it's funny because I remember playing Definition by Destruction or Destruction by Definition. I always get it wrong. I always get it flipped. So Jay, if you're listening, I apologize. But anyways, I remember listening to that on my anti-skip Sony Walkman. I was
Nice.
so excited on my rollerblades because it wouldn't skip. And I would do tricks. I'm like, oh man, Jay would be so cool. He would love watching the 17-year-old do these super rad tricks. And then never thinking I would ever share a stage with that gentleman. And now it's like, I talk to him and he's like, you need to like let that go. It's cool, man. Like, we're good. And I'm like, okay, that's easy for you to say, that I'm still like in this awestruck of playing on these shows with these people that like I idolized when I was super young. And I have the opportunity now where not only are they actually a part of the show, but they're like Jay saying, you know, we're all fucking doomed and we're wasting our time with us on stage at our CD release. Like, he could have easily said no. He could have easily said, I don't know who you are. Like, no, thank you. But he did. And they just been super rad. And I love everything there is about a live performance. And I can assure you that whatever I have that night, I'm going to give you. That's the best I can.
And you actually, Big Boss Barbecue, you hopped up there with Jay Navarro and the Traders. That was it. That was probably the highlight of the fucking night, seeing you get up there and do
Holes.
You did holes.
I said, Jay, can I sing verse 2? And it was funny because I talked to the band first. I was like, is it okay if I like steal Jay's like mic? And they're like, ooh, I don't know. And it would be pretty cool. And of course, Eric was like, do it, man. That's so punk rock. He'll love it. And I'm like, okay, that's fun now. But then I get up there and like, you know, he throws his guitar at me or something. You never know. Like, you don't know. And he was really rad about it. He was like, nope. And then I thought it was really cool that not only he let me do it, but then he announced to me, like, he didn't have to do that. You know, he said, this is Benny from the Boy Detective. If you haven't listened to him, listen to him. Like, my baby punk heart just like exploded in my chest. And I'm like, I'm gonna forget the lyrics now that you set it up. You know, it was like when like Fat Mike really wanted to sing with no effects and then got the opportunity and didn't remember the words because he was so infatuated by singing with Danzig and all them. Like, it's the same garbage.
Awesome. I'm gonna back you up a little bit. You ready? All right. We're gonna do like your Jeopardy like game show introduction. Who are you? Like family? Where are you from? Give us your background a little bit. Who is Benny outside of Boy Detective?
So Benny Capaul is a lot just in general. He started, I mean, I grew up in a small town, like a Norman Rockwell town here in Ida, Michigan, son of a funeral director. I literally was born and raised around death. So I have a very, very different existential view on living and death because of it. I decided that I wanted to follow in the family business, which is a 4-generation funeral director or funeral home. Been in our town for 87, 88 years, something like that. Served a lot of families. And my twin, I have an identical twin, which is also very rad. And he decided to be a psychologist that specializes in grief and loss. So we grew up infatuated by not only death, but also being in bands. My older brother, Chris, who I want to give him a shout out, who basically gave us all the albums we ever listened to. But of course, we were raised in a very strict Catholic family, so we weren't allowed to have, for instance, Hooray for Boobies album from Bloodhound Gang. So he would sneak in albums, like he would give us, but he was so eclectic. So like one week he'd give us Blink-182 Enema of the State. Then the next week he'd give us one of the Joker cards from ICP, and then he would give us Aerosmith, Pump, or he would get NoFX. Which one did he start with? Ribbed, I think, was the first one I listened to when I was young. And we would hide them, and then we would put them on tapes, and then say something else. Right? I think every kid who did that knows what I'm talking about, to hide it from their parents. And so like he raised us on punk rock, and he wanted us to be in a band with him because he was in a very, very Screeching Weasels type punk band. He was a drummer, and it was called 1 Inch Brigade. And it was an awesome name, still an awesome name. And he wanted to start a horror punk band. And so he was like, okay, Benny, you're going to sing, but you have to sing like Danzig. So I learned how to sing kind of. I'm not Danzig. No one's Danzig, right? No one's Danzig other than
do it. Sing
Elvis
like
Presley. I can't. I don't even know. You listen to the Spaghetti Zombie album, you'll see it. If you find the old one, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I would and we did a horror punk band, and it was awesome. And it was really, really cool. We actually got asked to tour when I was 18 years old. We couldn't do it because our guitarist left the band right before the tour would have started. We got asked to go to tour with Calabrese back in the day, which is out in Arizona. They asked us to come out and tour with them for a week or whatever. And we were like 17, so we were like, that's really cool. I don't even know if our parents would have allowed us, but we were going to do it. I mean, that was our goal. And so we were in this horror punk band, but it was right before like The Walking Dead started or anything. So of course, like especially in my town, it's all country here. So punk is not celebrated in my community. It's either country or at the time, if you guys remember, there was a huge metal break for a while. Like everything was like either metal or the downriver scene and Detroit scene, which a lot of you are a part of, was different. But in the Monroe County area, it was very, very either country or metal. And so we were like right in that middle. And we always were put on shows with either metal bands or like dad rock bands. So like they were always like, oh, these kids, A, they're funeral directors' kids. B, they're singing about zombies, ghouls, and vampires. So weirdos. And like they're crazy. Because I was as crazy. I was jumping off speakers back then and crawling under people's legs in the crowd back when I was 16. Because we would just rent out places, and that's a sad thing too. And I don't know if it's the new generation, the new gen of high schoolers and like right out of high school, but they're not doing the shows that we used to do. Like we used to have a lot of shows in basements and in weird like in ours it was pole barns. Like basement shows were like pole barns is the big like item. We would have our friends let us use their pole barn, and we would have like a show and the cops would come and whatever. And so I was like, you don't see that now. Like I don't pass a pole barn with, they're inside playing their video games or whatever they're doing.
You do have a backyard show coming up though soon, don't you?
I am really excited for
it right now.
Splish Splash, taking a bath. It's coming up August 24th.
Yeah. Jess is coming into town for this one because that is going to be fucking epic, right, Jess?
Oh, Jess, that should be your first show.
I think I'm committed now. Yeah.
Maybe
coming in for this shit.
Okay, I'm gonna give it all. It's gonna be great. We just decided to do that. We actually switched one of our shows because we really wanted to help the nonprofits. That's another thing too. Who Benny Capaul is. Not only am I really big into my community with the funeral directing, but I also am the president of a really cool nonprofit called 6 Feet Over. It's based out of Detroit. Helps families with suicide. Not only gives them great people to talk to, but also resources and monetary help for after, because no one understands that there is a extreme cost to the post of the death. On top of that, I'm also a board member of Gabby's Grief Center here in Monroe County, which is all inclusive grief, just a center for anybody who's dealing with death or loss. Because of how I was raised and because of my occupation, I decided to not only be a funeral director, embalmer, but also a death doula and a death consultant. I go to high schools and I go to churches and all that, and I talk about the importance of grief and I normalize and humanize how death really should be, which is good grief. So that's what I do in my community outside of put on some awesome toenail polish and wear some ska shorts and sweat on people and sing.
Promo that for 1 second because you let's talk about that. So 2 questions here. A, you have a podcast all about that, correct? So go ahead and plug that real quick.
Absolutely. So my twin and I started about around COVID time, a podcast called Let's Talk About Death, because we were realizing that people do not know how to talk about death. B, if they do talk about death, they're usually misinformed or uneducated. And then the other thing too is it is not normalized or humanized to deal with the mental health crisis of death and grief, because we're existentialists. So we base everything is based off death, in our opinion. For instance, divorce, right? Death of a family. You have COVID, death of a society, death of a normalcy. You have everything is based on some sort of grief. It's not just losing somebody. So if we can start helping people at least have the tools to navigate grief, then they can live healthier lives. So we did that. We have a podcast. We're actually possibly there might be a documentary made on our family. And it's really, really cool. The opportunity may come up. But we've had the podcast. We've been asked to be. We had a short doc that was made, and from there we might have some more from that too. So there's a lot of things that us Capauls are doing. Not only that, but my brothers that I was in Spaghetti Zombies with are in their own band called Dads on Couches, which is a punk rock band, which rules. And they hopefully will be ready to play. They're actually going to play their first show right now, scheduled with us on September 21st. It's going to be our benefit show for 6 Feet Over in Hazel Park at the Eastern Tiki Bar. I can't think of what it's called. I always forget.
Oh, the Tiki Bar. They who just played there? Plastic Presidents?
Yeah, Chris just had a show there.
Yeah.
The owner is a board member also of 6 Feet Over. So we're going to have it there. So it's going to be absolutely wonderful. So if you want to see a bunch of Capauls do live music, come out that day.
So it's interesting to me, not to put you on the spot here, but to kind of look at the music that Boy Detective does, which is I'm going to categorize you because everyone loves what the random person like puts you in a category, right? It's everyone's favorite thing. But you're kind of like emo skunk, right? You're kind of like emo with the ska punk side of it. So you have the side of the compassion death side and the we're all fucking doomed and we're all gonna die. So how like what's the connection there? Or is there a connection?
Well, the connection is that. I mean, to be honest, if you think about it, right, there's humor in tragedy. There always is. That they coincide. They've been doing that since the plays of Greek. Shakespeare has been mixing the two for all of his plays that he was doing. They coincide, and the all honesty is when it comes to death, when it comes to tragedy, if in my case, whenever I'm really hurt, this is really interesting. Whenever I get really hurt, I tend to just break down laughing. It's the weirdest thing. Like I don't cry. Partially, part of the reason is because I was told at a very young age, if you're going to be a funeral director, you have to be able to direct. You need to be able to hold your feelings. Not the greatest thing to say to a kid. I'm still dealing with it. Just because I am an educator on grief doesn't mean I am a professional or perfect at it. You know what I mean? I think our grief is our own, and and that's another thing too. People just assume you can graduate from grief. Like, okay, a year from now, I'm not gonna be sad about grandma dying. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. You're forever changed. So it's like, are you willing to work with it as it continues, right? As this new grief comes in, because that's the thing with grief, right? It's not a constant. It's waves. It's I smell something that reminds me of this person, or the holiday comes up, or somebody says his name, or you hear something. You know what I mean? It's so wild. So when I think of that, I always mix the two because it isn't all. I got to be honest that those are Nick Good's lyrics. Nick Good is our lyricist. I'm going to be completely frank with you on 90% of stuff. We write a lot together, but when it comes to the actual feeling of the song, it's mostly Mr. Good, our guitarist, who writes a lot of the lyrics. He is really good about not making lyrics too sophisticated, if that makes sense, but also being able to present them in a sophisticated manner, because our lyrics are somewhat, I don't want to say campy because that's not the right word, but they're somewhat light, but then we're saying like we're all fucking doomed and we're wasting our time. Really, literally the second verse is talking about telling our kids not to jump off a couch, and then
Well,
go ahead.
Can I ask you about that?
What was
Just
that?
for one.
Yeah.
So have you had that? So I have a friend who went through, and I won't like I could
Yeah, absolutely.
a long conversation, who went through the scenario that you described in that, and it didn't end well for him originally. Is that an experience somebody had, or is that a hypothetical experience in that song?
I'm going to be completely frank. I think anybody who's a parent out there has gone through something like that. The thing is our kids are funny creatures. We'll tell them over and over and over and over again to not do something, and then they do it, right? And then it's funny because then we spin back in our mind like, okay, when we were kids, we would have done the same thing. Yeah. But the thing is like when that happens, you think you're the worst parent, right? Like I told them to not jump on the couch. I allowed them to jump on the couch. They fell off, they got hurt, and now I'm afraid to take them to the hospital.
Now CPS is
It wasn't 100% that specific scenario, but it was very something similar that both Nick and I have gone through in our parents, because we got married and also had kids at the same time. His kids are 1 year apart from mine. He's got 2, I have 2, and it was literally like he had his first the year after I had my first, the year after he had a second, the year after I had my second. So like we were going through those stages together. The difference is I had a girl and he only had 2 boys, and we both grew up in households of boys. So I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
I grew up with, Ninja Turtle toys and that there is some lyrics that are mine on Dorcas. And there's some newer stuff that have my lyrics on them. But a lot of the times it's Nick's expression, because he just has such a good way. And then a lot of the songs you have no idea what he's singing about. And I don't know if you're going to pick 1 or 2 of them tonight, but if you do, some of them are really interesting because they're not what you think he's actually talking about, which is like, right, good lyricists, right? They always
are. Maybe you can. Ooh, Ryan. Maybe he can pick the songs. I don't know. Maybe we need to. I digress.
Well, not all that many songs have the lyrics posted up online. So I
told Nick that. I was like, why don't we have our lyrics? He's like, I don't know, Ben. I'm like, okay, that's not a good answer. That's not.
I don't know was a good answer, I guess, in general.
I think he said there was something weird with Spotify where you have to be a certain amount where your lyrics show up or something. But maybe I miscalculated that, or maybe he misspoke.
Maybe Spotify just sucks. I don't know.
There's some songs on Spotify that have the lyrics, but not all of them.
Yeah. From us.
Yeah, on Apple as well. There's some that have the lyrics and some that do not.
Does Dorcas have all the lyrics on it? The first album?
I'll check.
I don't know.
Speaking of albums, are you doing vinyl eventually? What the fuck?
Okay,
man?
so here's the funny part about
I want a print of Art Theft.
Okay, so here's the funny part about this. I'm gonna be completely frank with you. We have wanted to do vinyl since day one, right?
Okay.
But then like COVID happened yet again. All this is during COVID for the beginning.
Everyone blames COVID for all their.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Me and COVID have some things to work out, because being a funeral director during COVID.
Fair.
I'll give you a little snippet that most people don't know. I am an alcoholic, just to be completely frank with you all. And COVID was when I really went down a very dark path, because I was dealing with all these families that were being completely rude and mean to me because they didn't believe in COVID. So it was my fault that they weren't allowed to have 10 people or 15 people or whatever it was at the time, even though that was legally what we had to do. So I went down a very, very bad path for a little bit. I am completely sober now. I'm actually coming up to 3 years sober in August. So I'm really excited about that. Me and COVID got some things we need to talk about. But anyway, so when we first got Dorcas out, it was when we did Dorcas, it was only Nick and I. So it was literally Nick did all the instruments except bass, and then him and I both sang. In my house, we recorded that all ourselves. And that was our opus for Nick and I, like starting the Boy Detective. And then what happened is during COVID, we were like, well, maybe we should try to get a drummer. So we asked some people, and Brett, we knew, and he was a guitarist, but he always wanted to be in a band for drummer. So he jumped in and played drums, and that kind of worked out. But we're like, okay, now we have like a couple songs with horns. Like maybe we could put out I think Nick literally put out like what are those Craigslist for horns? He did. I know.
Did you get your horns from Craigslist? Because you guys have some fucking great. You guys have some.
Jared and Seth. This is funny. We could not find. We always wanted to be in a band with horns, Nick and I. Because we were in a band called Come On, and we wanted horns back then, but we could never find the horns.
Band, but all right, go ahead.
Thank you. We wanted horns, and then Jared and Seth, 20 miles away, always wanted a band to play horns in, but they never could find the right people to play a band with. So it worked out well. So those two came as a package, and then at that time, our good friend Lauren was a trumpeter in high school and wanted to re-pick it back up. pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. So she
Well
picked it
played.
back
Well
up.
played.
So she picked it up, and then she joined us. But life happens, and Brett and Lauren couldn't be in our band anymore. And we had Alex, who came in for bass for a little bit, but his dad was going down some medical stuff, so he wanted to be home with him. So it's one of those things where the lineup we have now, no offense to Alex, no offense to Brett, no offense to Lauren, I love them. They're all wonderful musicians, and they did an amazing job. But the people we have now, it's clicking on full cylinders right now. It really is. And in fact, there is a possibility of an addition pretty soon. So
come on, break the news. I know. Okay, you can't.
I can't
Just
officially.
come on. This won't come out for like 4 days. So if you break it now,
It's not. We need a little more than 4 days, but I will say there is some talk. It may get a little hornier around.
Ooh, we like horny. We like horny.
But yeah, so I will say this: vinyl is coming. It is in the works.
Is it? Because Jess, you
are
want
gonna
to
get
Yeah.
art theft for sure on vinyl, and
Ryan's got a boner.
possibly
All right.
some more on that vinyl because there's
And from the bathtub.
Bonus tracks. Okay.
I can't say yay.
But if you were gonna say, just shake your head. Nobody can see.
I will say there's a side A and there's a side B. That's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh, that's pretty fucked up. All right, so that would lead into Jess. Go ahead and ask your question about Punkerton because I know you've been dying to.
Yeah. How did you link up with Punkerton? First off.
I told you she wanted to know.
Okay,
All
so I will say this: my band are a bunch of musicians, and they're absolutely wonderful. They're way above my pay grade when it comes to they're talking about scales and all that jazz. I don't deal with that. I come in and I do my part, but what I do is I do a lot of the background scenes. I'm the one that's contacting the bands, the venues, the artists. I'm also looking into trying to get sponsored and doing all these fun things through what I do. And we were talking about, we really wanted to get some vinyls out, but vinyl is very expensive, just to be frank. And I said to my band, I said, I think we're at that point where we should just see, start sending some stuff out to labels and see what comes back. I will say we had a lot of optimism come back, but not at the time, as in like, this sounds really good, but right now is not a good time. So possibly in 2 to 3 years at certain labels, I'll put it that way. And I was like, okay, I can't guarantee tomorrow. I am a funeral director. I know how short life is, right? We need to get on this. So one of the labels I reached out to was Punkerton, because at the time we just played a show with Middle Out and we've been playing with Lame Ass Dads. Lame Ass Dads were one of the bands that we played a lot of shows with when we first started. We played a lot of shows in Toledo with Shitty Neighbors, Lame Ass Dads. That's why we're playing on Thursday for one of Shitty Neighbors' last shows. But Lame Ass Dads, they just released their record through a Punkerton, and I was like, just curious, who's in charge? Like, how do I get in hold of? Well, there's a joke that I always like to go when I reach out to people with the detective feel. So it's always like a case folder and like, oh, I'm too old for this job, and these hooligans around the streets not listening to good ska anymore, and like it's this whole story. Like I'm not joking. Like if I'll find it and I'll send it to you guys. I sent Brandon a story about this detective that was looking for a specific label. Because a lot of the labels were causing crimes, or it was the whole thing. So of course a week goes by, maybe 2 weeks go by, I get nothing. I'm like, okay, this is not the first label I've sent this and gotten absolutely nothing, because I'm sure most labels are like, what the hell is this? Like, because it literally, like, the subject is case 11.13, the boy detective. So like maybe they don't even really know what it is I'm sending them. And so I literally get back another story. So Brandon not only responded to me, but he made up his own story about how he was trying to look for me and give me the scoop on this crime that was going on. And I was like, I like this guy already. I'm a big fan. So I called him, and at the time it was funny. He was like, I kind of do have a full docket right now, but he's like, I can't I can't pass up on you guys. There's something about you that, and I'm like, I know, we have that charm. We trick people. We've been doing great at it since we started. But yeah, so we hooked up with him, and it's been a really cool. The problem was we hooked up with Brandon after Art Theft was released.
Okay.
Because we released Art Theft on January 1st. And so we didn't sign. Our sign day was April Fool's Day, of course, for Ska Band. So we signed April 1st. So one of the things we asked him was like, hey, I know this is probably something you don't do, but would you be willing to release Art Theft, because the world needs Art Theft on vinyl? I'm going to be honest. I need Art Theft on vinyl. I want to have one album on my wall that has Art Theft on it. You know what I mean? Which I hope we talk about that a little bit, because Art Theft is such a cool story and everything about it. But anyways, so we decided, because of that, because it's only 7 songs, we can put 7 on one side and 7 on the other. Hint, hint. And so we'll have a little vinyl. So vinyls are coming. I will say that. That was a very long question, but Art Theft is really interesting, because Art Theft was started because Nick and I'm going to talk, when I say Nick, I'm talking about the guitarist that we've been in. We always have been big fans of hinting and giving credit to old punk bands that we love. So in Art Theft, and Nick Good has this, he has a like a little black book that has, I think, 48 hints to other bands specifically. And it's funny, because here's a perfect example of this. We did in Date Night, Not You, Just Me, Not You, or whatever. That's from a Scholars song.
No shit.
Yeah. And then so we had no idea that the Traders trombone played in the Scholars all those years ago. So he literally, so we're sitting in Frankie's, and Nick's like, I don't know, man. I'm really worried about Jay hearing the song, because what if he knows a lot of these hints? And I'm like, I think he's gonna love it. I think he's gonna love that idea that, like, we're giving credit, and it's not blatant, other than maybe the Saves the Day intro to Jakar. But like, there is 48, and one of those was the Scholars. And even when we mentioned it, he was like, oh, I played in that band. And we're like, oh, Date Night. He's like, oh yeah, we did something like that.
That is amazing.
And so, yeah, so there is literally like 48 nods to other bands.
No,
I love that. I love that.
Alkaline Trio is definitely one of them.
Alkaline Trio, there's Blink-182 in that same line.
Yes.
We do Feeling This, and radio. Yeah.
Yep.
And then,
is there an Easter egg on the cover too?
Yeah. So here's the reason for that. Do any of you know the artwork that is? It's a really cool story. I don't know what it actually, the name of it or the artist, so I apologize. Put that in the links when you guys do this. But basically, that artwork was stolen. That was stolen by the Nazis, and it was never reclaimed after that. So it is a literal. So the original idea, we didn't go through with that, but the original idea was we were going to take a picture, we were going to get it printed on like canvas and put it on one of our fridges. As in, like, we've had it all these years. And so you'd have like the kids' scribble marks on it and coffee marks on it, and it would just be like hanging there on our fridge. The idea that, like, we stole it, because that was our thing. Like, we're stealing all of this, because at this point, let's be honest, anybody who's writing music now has stolen it from somewhere else.
Sure.
So why not just call it what it is, right? We loved Newfound Glory, Less Than Jake, Suicide Machines, Alkaline Trio, Blink-182, and we put them all together. MXPX, Saves the Day, Starting Line, they're all in there, and we just mixed them.
Give us all 48 right now.
I don't know them. I don't even know half of them, to be honest.
That would take the fun out of it, Eric.
No pressure.
No, but there is, if the wiki goes through, because that's another thing, we're trying to get this wiki through. If the wiki goes through, Nick has decided he will make a page for all of the nods.
Okay. So I need to talk to Nick about this, is what you're saying?
You need to talk to Nick about it. He might not give it to you.
Nick runs the fan page, right? Or am I wrong?
What's that? So here's the thing. None of us are on the fan page. That is run by my older brother, Chris.
Okay. Thank you.
And he asked us, do you guys want to be on it? And I said, you know what? I don't want to be on it. I always liked it when there's like, remember the street teams? Do that still exist? You remember the street teams? They'd come to like shows. They'd be like, is this it? Like, we're Taking Back Sunday, Street Team, and here's a weird floppy disk that may or may not work when you drive home.
It may
And
not work.
here's like 8 flyers for shows that you obviously can't come back to. And like I was like, Chris, no, like this is awesome. So he's like, I'm gonna call it Dorcas, and I'm like, that rules. And like the idea is eventually like us to have like cute little videos to give to you guys, but the idea is like we don't know all that. Like he's communicating what you guys are saying, because like I don't think we should be a part of it. I think that should be for the fans. Yet again, I go from this old school approach where I think everybody should be a part of the Boy Detective. The Boy Detective is not just 7 individuals. The Boy Detective is everybody who comes out to our shows, everybody who's singing We're All Fucking Doomed to Waste, or Get Me Back to My Couch, or sitting with their underwear only on and eating a block of cheese. Like
My
we're
favorite line. I am so there.
we're all doing that. Like everybody
Yes.
does that. Everybody, and that's another thing too, is we are self-deprecating when it comes to that. Like we're not any fancier, or we just, I will say this, we have a good pack, we have a good product. When it comes to me, I am like the traveling salesman. I don't write the stuff most of the time, but I can sell it to you, and I can sell it to you great. But honestly, Nick and I have been writing music so long that everything he puts in his lyrics, I feel. So that's another thing too. It's real. It's not like I'm just singing somebody else's words. Like I know where he's coming from. And a lot of the stories he's talking about are stories that we all we shared partying and growing up together and then having kids together.
That's a good question though, because a lot of, I called you emo skunk originally, and you are obviously happily married at this point in time, and your some of your lyrics are the kind of the angst kind of lyrics. So is that Nick, or is that
It's both of us.
okay.
A perfect example. And I love Nick, but he writes some very, very long titles and he changes them, because when I get a song from Nick, it's what the chords usually are. So it'll be GAC. So I learn a song by GAC, and then it turns out to be my astronauts eat marshmallows together on a floating platform, which I love. I love the old Fall Out Boy ridiculous titles. I think they're amazing. And Nick puts a lot of time into, they somehow correlate to the song. He's a huge rom-com fan, and he loves show series. So a lot of those are from there. A lot of them are from shows or from romantic comedies.
So give us an example. Give us a real example.
So the clip on Richard T. Owls is from 30 Rock. That's one of them.
Nice.
Bryan Cranston is on that one, and then the other one is we did the Chris Farley one on I Heard What You Smelled. I heard what you spelled. I heard what you spelled. There you go. I heard what you spelled. That's another one. The Jakar, he literally collects tapes, and he came across one of those, like you put it on at night, like a psychology thing where you put it on at night. It's supposed to help you with like subconscious thoughts and stuff. And he was like, this is such a weird thing. And he's like, our album's like 20 minutes. Like this works perfectly. We'll just have this weird psychologist talk about like, this is your time. And
So
like,
the beginning
you
of
know
our,
what I mean? This is your time. And then saves the day, 3 chords come up. Which is my favorite hit from other than Replacement, because Replacement actually has been with us since day one. We just didn't do it. The really funny part about Art Theft, really quick too, I want to give a nod to all of our wives and kids, because our wives are allowing us to do this, and it takes a lot of time to do this. So thank you, Danielle and Ginger and Alicia, for allowing us to do this, because it's wild. And I want to give Vade and Roman, my 2 beautiful children, call out, because they have inspired me to be awesome.
How old are your kids?
I have a 6 and 8 year old.
Oh, okay. I have an 8-year-old. So
well, what's your 8-year-old's name?
His name's Oliver, but we call him Ox.
Ollie.
Ox
is actually sung. Go ahead, come on, brag.
Oh, he has sung on stage with Suicide Machines twice.
Oh man, he's got to sing
Supernova. He
detective.
was
You gotta
on stage at
He's gonna come
Supernova.
out in August to see you guys play, I think.
teach him one of our songs so you could sing with me. I'll give him the mic. He can have
You
the
caught that. You caught that, right, Jess? Because he will do it.
I
He
caught
will.
it.
He will
Let
do
it be. I got scabies once, so that's pretty punk.
I do love that song so much. So what was I gonna say? Oh, art theft. Going back to that. Jerk now I lost it, guys.
We were talking about
Lost
replacing
it.
that.
Oh,
All right.
date night is a perfect
Yeah.
example of us trying to seduce our wives and then
That's a
them
good-
being
it's a
completely tired.
reality.
And then obviously the sax part where we say yes is supposed to be like sex. Like finally it happens and like the crowd is cheering and everybody's like, you got the like, yeah, you got this, you got it, you did it. Hooray. Like, because it is so true. Like after you have kids, like they take a lot out of you.
You got a schedule almost.
Like in some ways, yeah. And it's funny because like we do that. Like him and I come wear robes, and he always wears his Crocs in his house. So like they're legit, like him talking about him and us being dorks trying to seduce our wives. Like that is exactly what that song is, and it's wonderful. And it's really funny because half of our band aren't married, so they're like, "What the hell are you guys? Is this what we have to look forward to? Is this?"
The part when you're like, "Hey, look, I took out the garbage," and I'm like, that is so
Yeah,
fucking true.
no,
Like,
it's
baby,
so
took out the
good.
garbage. What do you got for me now?
So good. The cheesesteak. Oh, and Nick likes to talk about food a lot. Cheese steaks. Alfredo is about. It's not about a girl. It's about waiting for a delivery guy and then being mad when they leave when you finish your food, wanting them to come back. So that was a lot of fun. I wish I'm going to say this right here because Nick's going to listen to this. I want to re-record Dorcas with horns. I want to boy detective that bad boy. So 10-year, we're going to redo Dorcas 100%.
What year is it now? How long do we have?
17 was when or 17 or 19.
19, I say.
It's 19.
Mhm.
It was recorded in 17, but it took us that long. So
you should be starting now.
Oh yeah, of course. No, we got other things planned right now.
And most of the lyrics for
Ooh,
Dorcas are
you got
online,
Jess?
so
Yes.
everybody has time to rehearse them for.
Yes.
when you
What
do
is our question from our
We
from
had
our
a fan
viewer?
question. You just said
We
you
had
had
a
other
question.
things planned. He wants to know Don. He comes to a lot of your shows. You may
You know
know.
Don, right?
Oh,
You know
Don
I should
Wobster.
ask that.
I love Don Wobster.
His first question was
All right,
about
yes.
vinyl. We already covered that, but he wants to know if there's any new music coming up.
There is a lot of new music coming up. It's funny because Art Theft has only been out 6 months, and it feels like it's been out for 2 years. It's weird. It's really weird. It feels to me it's been out as long as Band, which is wild to me. Because Band was a perfect representation of where we were then. Art Theft was a perfect example of where we were then. And this new stuff is even a better interpretation of what we are now. I will say we have been in the studio already. There are some really cool things. There may even be a holiday present for people. I'll put it that way. I don't know. I don't have any dates. I wish I could give you dates and times. I can't go that far. There is stuff coming up. I will say that we promised Punkerton an album. So there is other stuff in the can. But there is recorded stuff that will be coming out soonish.
And this is separate from your side A and B for Art Theft.
That is just its gem for being as beautiful as that Art Theft baby was.
Okay.
Art Theft deserves to have a pressing. I'll put it that way. Art Theft deserves so much. And I think the fans deserve not only Art Theft, but a little extra because they've waited so long for us
So
to.
this extra is new music plus there's going to be new music, or this extra is old music?
It could be a little bit of both.
Whoa, that is such a middle of the road answer right there. That's like saying fucking maybe.
I've given you 2 big clues. If you're gonna have.
Oh, there's my detective. There's my detective.
You have to the case of what's gonna be on Art Theft. Really.
Break out your inner detective, figure it out.
Somebody, Don already knows.
tuned for
Don is going to
more.
listen to half of this and be like, oh, I know exactly what's on there.
Yeah.
I know exactly.
Yeah, well, Don is the man. He'll be there Thursday. This will air afterwards, but Thursday, Boy Detective is playing. Don shows up like every fucking one of your shows. He's an amazing guy.
Don rules.
And I got the Boy Detective tattoo somewhere.
You kill it because you have a Boy Detective tattoo
It's
that
there.
I don't have yet.
What tattoo do you have, Eric?
Well, I got literally Boy Detective. Well, I can't do the mirror thing. Never mind.
Don't
I'll
worry.
show you when I see it, but it's literally the Boy Detective.
I say it. Yeah.
He's
Okay.
got it. I
What
keep
is that
buying-
other one? Is
I
there
keep-
like
Whoa.
is there
Oh,
a cat?
there it is.
What's
There
the
it is.
cat?
I worked hard.
Eric, you will always be the first. That's all that you
I
need.
will. And you
Because-
never forget your first,
Here's the
right?
deal. 100%. And I'm going to be
Okay.
honest with you. Sarah has been throwing this that she's going to get a tattoo, but I still don't see a Boy Detective tattoo.
Van Ash, Sarah Van Ash, do you hear this shit?
You're
Calling
being
you out.
called out, Sarah.
She said like a year ago she was going to get a
Yes.
tattoo. In fact, she said you should come with me and get it. Maybe that's why. Sorry, Sarah. She's like, you need to come and get a tattoo with me. Well,
After this, I'm pretty sure she'll have it in a couple weeks. So.
yeah, I'm sure. She's like, oh, now he called me out. Now I got
Later that day.
Before August 24th.
So when they play Croydon, Jess,
Oh,
to Jeremy, when they
I-
play Croydon, will the tattoo artist then have the robot so everyone can get a Boy Detective
Oh.
tattoo?
I mean,
when they
it's
play
kind of
Croydon?
possible. I was kind of hinting to you, like, what is that cat on your arm? And you were ignoring me, but I think you
Oh, yeah. Wait, that's a Croydon. Whoa, I can't. I'm bad at this camera thing, but that's Croydon, right
That's the
there.
Croydon Fest cat.
Where'd it go? There.
He did not get it at the festival.
he's
though.
already
No.
the cat is already kicking the robot. It's
He
already
got it before the festival.
I got it before. But so Benny,
yes.
you would play Croydon, right? Like
Yeah,
you guys would bring
so-
your group to Philly.
So this is not Croydon Fest. The Boy Detective is calling you out
Oh,
Get
shit.
us.
Ooh.
to get us
Jeremy.
on that list.
Do it.
Also, this is a call out to Supernova for getting us on the list.
Oh.
Couple others that really need to get us on the list. How about Camp Pennsylvania? You guys hear about that one?
Which is happening in a
We'll be
week.
there
'cause
next
we'll all be
week,
there.
yeah.
You were fucking there, man.
Buffalo, Steel City, and Denver. We need you to allow this pretty detectives to get up on that stage. I promise you, we will not let you down. I'll put it that way.
And Benny
I'm
won't
there.
stay on the stage for very
Jeremy?
long.
Okay. So
I will,
Jess.
not be, I will not be on the stage, but the other detectives will be. And
Well,
also,
I won't get on okay.
for the sake of Benny Capaul and Nick Good, the beautiful band, the Suicide Machines, please let us open one of your shows. I don't
Aw.
care where it is, we would love to open for you. Please, Suicide Machines.
All right, that needs to happen.
I heart you.
Aw.
So anyway, so we got
Come on, Jay, come on.
there's a lot of things in the can coming up, a lot of cool things. We haven't done a video yet. We really need to do that.
You
That-
probably should.
We need to, right?
Yes.
We need to do a video.
Eric has a GoPro.
I do have a GoPro. I will do this. I don't know how, but I will go on record as saying is you guys are the most like underrated band probably in all of fucking America. Like America needs to see you guys, like and fall in love with you. But in all seriousness,
If you were
cannot see Boy Detective.
into late 90s ska, punk, or emo,
You're not
you
helpful.
will like the Boy Detective. You will like the Boy Detective. That we literally have figured out a recipe to put all three of those things together.
If you have any taste in music, you will like The Boy Detective.
Thank you. And if you don't, I promise you, if you come to our show, you're gonna have fun. You can't
Yeah,
come
if
to
you
the show
like
and be
having
like, I
fun.
didn't have fun. Not my thing, but I mean, I had fun.
So I'm gonna get us back on track for a second,
Thank
okay?
you, Eric.
That's my that's not really my job.
Professional.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So tell us either a weird tour story, a traumatic tour story, or tell us about your cats, whichever.
Or a
three
really
you-
funny tour
Oh,
story.
or
cat.
funny.
I don't have any cats. I will be
Okay, so that one's out. Traumatic.
I do have two dogs, and one of them's a grief dog. So that's pretty cool.
That is.
That's pretty cool. I'm a dog lover. I'm gonna be honest.
Me too.
Born
too.
and raised. You know what? I've always kind of had adversaries with cats, but there's a reason. There's a reason for all you, because everybody's like, "Oh, I'm turning this off. I don't like these guys anymore." I had
You
I had,
just got off Croydon, man.
I had an outside cat that I loved, and his name was Oreo, and he stopped coming back, and it really bothered me as a kid. And I
Aw.
think that's why I have an issue with cats,
You
because
need a hug. You need a hug. Come on.
I need Oreo to come back.
Oh,
Back, Oreo.
Oreo, if you hear this, will you please
Yes.
come back to Benny?
It was traumatic. It was traumatic. We would feed him every day, and he would come back every day because they're loyal in their own way.
Or they want their food.
And he
They just want their
showing.
food.
He stopped showing, and it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking.
I can kind of relate. My cat got hit by a car when I was a kid and never came
Oh.
back. So
It's heartbreaking.
and I'm still a cat person.
This
Yeah,
is
but it's
so
okay.
we went traumatic. We went pet traumatic is what we went.
That's where
So no tour story. We're just talking about our dead cats.
you know, honestly, this is I hate to admit it, but I don't have a really like I other than Nick and I driving back from a Capaul show because he helped us with Capaul. He played drums with us when Chris couldn't do it. We drove through a blizzard, and I couldn't even tell you the lines on 75. I couldn't see any of them. And I remember he's like, you know what we're gonna listen to? The Mountain Goats. And we listened to the Mountain Goats.
That's traumatic.
Going home in a winter, and I mean, it was something because like, okay, we're gonna die listening to the Mountain Goats, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful. I don't really have like a negative. I have had so much fun in the experiences of traveling with my bandmates. It's just been wonderful.
Benny,
How
can I
was
ask you?
Forest?
What about
How was Forest? You guys just got done playing that with a lot of punk.
Forest Fest was amazing, but we did get completely rained out to the point where it literally just kept raining. It kept raining and kept raining and kept raining and kept raining. And they had the barriers, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, this is not Benny friendly.
I saw the video. I was like, yeah, that's not good.
That's not Benny friendly. So I literally asked the runner, the owners of it. I was like, listen, can I move these because this doesn't do well for me. And they're like, yeah, just we don't like people coming up to the bands. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm gonna go out to them. You don't have to worry about people. Like I'll be. And I just remember like doing my skanking to nobody because everybody was like hiding because it was soaked. So it was wonderful, and I got to sing with Middle Out too. That's kind of like my thing now. I like to just get up. I miss that. I miss like bands singing with other bands. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I miss
you with the Traders.
I remember like, and I don't know how you all feel about Menzingers, but they came to Frankie's in Toledo. It's a very small venue, and I went to see them play with Modern Baseball, I think it was, and I just remember they decided because they used to be a ska band, and they played 500 channels, and I just completely lost my shit. And I got up there and I got to sing with. I was like, oh my gosh, so like this rules so much. I was telling Nick we got to do a Choking Victim song. We have to at this point.
Well, Benny, I'm going to ask you for a favor, okay? And it's a big one. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go for it.
So, Punk Rock Ryan over there has this little like this segment on the show which you're about to like go through called Brain on Ska. So he contacted Dave from Mustard Plug, and he is allowed to use their song as an intro. So when he does this little intro with you, it's going to be like, this is your Brain on Ska, right? I need an intro to my shenanigans. I really want Boy Detective to either A, give me a song or make up a song for the traumatic, oh, he's writing it down. The traumatic like tour stories or the weird tour stories. Can you do that for me? Like
I'll talk to something, and if worse comes to worse, just Nick and I will write you something.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
Even the intro song to your podcast is amazing. I'm a fan of that, just so you know.
I love that so much. And it's so funny because we have our schematics for people listening are usually women, usually between the ages of 50 and 70, which I think is awesome, is wonderful. But it's funny because they'll write in and they'll be like, I love your show, but that intro is too loud. I'm like, that's fair. That's very fair. Because it's always like Nick and I just joke, and then it's like, let's talk about it. It's like, oh, I love it.
This is your brain. This is your brain on ska. This is your brain. This is your brain on ska.
All right, this is Brain on Ska. This is where we're going to start getting into some of the lyrics. We already started diving into them. One of the songs we want to talk about was Date Night, because so many of us do relate to that song. I like the part about edibles personally.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
just regardless, having a good time at home. You don't get kicked back very often. And I went through a lot of this, a lot of that shit myself, trying to schedule time. Yeah, I don't know.
It's awesome. It's really cool because I married my high school sweetheart. So literally, I've been with my wife longer than I haven't been with her.
Same here. I mean, my husband, but same.
Hey, it's the same thing.
Literally, I was 16 years old.
I was 16 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
Aww.
I was a junior in high school at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny because she went to the same high school as Nick Good, which is yet again a small world situation. In fact, when we were in high school, Nick and I actually were. Nick was in another band called The Machine Always Wins, and they had this crew. They called it the Cannibal Crew, where they would wear these sweatshirts and they'd cause a lot of mischief, doing a lot of dumb stuff. And so we were in this horror punk band called Spaghetti Zombies, and our crew, our fan club, we called it, was the Cemetery Crew, and they thought we were making fun of their crew. So they made up this person called Straight Edge Dave, who literally would come on and write messages to people, just being mean, just destroying them, like saying the cruelest things. So what we did, because we're Capauls and we kill people with kindness, is we made a song saying that Straight Edge Dave was our biggest fan. And if you listen to the Capaul stuff, there's a song called Straight Edge Dave where it's like, we love you and you're amazing and you're the best fan that we've ever had. And it ended up being him. We had no idea all these years. And he's like, yeah, I got to be honest with you. Me and my brother were Straight Edge Dave. And I'm like, no way. No way. Yeah, so like there's a lot of like background between Nick and us, because at first, like, I always kind of got the impression like he didn't like any of us, but it was just kind of like we're high schoolers and just doing dumb things. But then like we became best friends, and like I had to do a tryout, and my tryout song was a collection of memoranda, which is finally on Art Theft, and I have been bugging Nick Good to put that on an album since before anything, and I got the opportunity to finally do it. So that's a really cool tidbit too. But going back to Date Night, sorry, Ryan.
No worries.
He doesn't always do it. It's okay.
Wonderful.
We're gonna move on past Date Night, because I feel like we talked about half of that song already. We started getting this fits into more of what Eric classified you guys as your emo skunk. I did get scabies once, so I guess that's pretty punk.
Oh, I love this.
There's some really great lyrics in here, and the song ends super fun, especially when you guys play it when everybody's out on the floor running amok among the crowd.
Yes.
You
I just
told
love
me
the fact that we get a whole room to say we're all fucking doomed and we're wasting our time to a ska band. You know, you know, like you're expecting that from like a death metal band or like a crust punk band. You're not expecting that from a ska punk band with a bunch of dads, you know. But it's so cool. It is such a cool line. And especially because literally the whole lyrics are about having kids and the innocence of life, and then we go into this existential crisis at the end. Because at the end of the day, that's the thing too, is like we worry so much about the dumbest shit when really, in all honesty, we're not guaranteed anything. So why are we wasting our time thinking about that? You know, like we're gonna let's turn it up and let's burn this thing down together. Like, I love when Nick comes in on the outerlude into the, or I guess interlude into the outerlude, I guess at that point into the chant. So let's tune the music up too fucking loud, make the neighbors call the cops and have them try to shut us down. Like that is so like it's such like teenage angst for adults, you know, like we can be kids again, you know, and also like no matter how old we get, right, we all have that burning punk inside of us that will always be there. You know, we might tend to lose that because we got to deal with responsibilities. Or I always love the SLC Punk line at the end when he becomes a lawyer. Do you guys ever watch that movie? It was a wonderful.
I love that movie.
I love that
so
movie.
much. I loved his line, like, you can do more damage inside the system than out, because it's the truth. And I love when he's sitting on the bench saying that. Like, I love that whole monologue. And so, like, that's kind of how it is. Like, you kind of sometimes have to be a part of something, but it doesn't mean that that person still isn't inside you. It doesn't mean that you've lost that teenage angst, or just honestly that sometimes the world sucks. Like, it sucks. Life sucks sometimes. So instead of like worrying about it, let's call it how it is and let's have fun with it. And I think if people could be more honest and more humanistic about, like, I'm struggling right now. Like, I'm up here and I'm singing and it looks like I'm having a great time, but in all honesty, life sucks. We would have more empathy for this world, because right now apathy is what's being taught, and it's not good. It's not good. It's Nick good. Nick's gonna love that. He loves my puns. He hates them. He absolutely hates them. So yeah, I love that song. I think that song, there's a reason why it always tends to be the last song on our set. We finally, I'll put it this way, have wrote a song that can now replace it. Not that it'll ever be replaced. It'll always come back, but we finally have a song now that's another anthem to who we are, which is coming out soon. I'll put it that way.
That's exciting right there, because I've always loved that surfer outro where everybody's just having a great time. But yeah, that's a great point. You know, we can't always wear our mohawks. Sometimes we got other hats that we got to wear so that way we can take care of our shit.
But you know, that's a problem too. Like, we should be able to wear our mohawks, you know, at any time and not be judged by the height of our hawk. Because in all honesty, some of the people that, you know, get kind of casted out are the nicest people. They're the nicest, most awesome, big-hearted people. And just because they like to have tattoos, or they like to have piercings, or they like to wear a certain style of clothes, like, people just consider them outcasts, and it's not fair. It's not. And it's not right. It's not right as human beings. But that's just my opinion.
No, I agree with the whole 100%, man. Another song we want to talk about. Sorry, I'm struggling right here. Was on the Art Theft. It was, oh my God, you're so boring.
Awesome song.
Yeah, I just had to give that a proper intro by dragging that out as long as I possibly could. There's a lot of heavy stuff in there too. I mean, those are great lyrics and it's a fun song. What was the inspiration behind that? That was a departure. I think that's the only song that's like that we actually do. You know what I mean? It was a very different song for us. When we were coming up with it, we had no idea it would turn out to be as good as it is. Like, I don't really get into the schematics. I think Art Theft is a wonderful piece together, to be honest. I see, this is the problem that I have. I grew up loving the 3 to 4 song EPs more almost than a lot of the LPs, because I find that, like, there's a lot of pressure with LPs, whereas like an EP is more, it could be more a thought. Plus, ADHD kicks in, and it's nice to have 20 minutes of something solid, you know, because that's a car ride anywhere, you know, you can get through something.
And I used to love the splits, like the No Effects and Rancid splits and stuff. And so like there was a reason why we had 7 songs, because like we also wanted it to be, and I just think 7 is perfect. Like I don't feel like after 25 minutes you're like, okay, this was too long. You know what I mean? But yeah, so My God, You're Boring. My God, You're Boring. Is it My God, comma, You're Boring? I think it is.
Yeah.
Was Nick's way of discussing people that pretend to be doing well when they're not online. The idea that like some people will go through something very, very traumatic, and instead of just being honest about it, they hide it behind, oh, I'm going to take videos of me working out for the next 6 weeks and everything's going good and I'm plunging to love, when honestly they're doing it to try to impress the person that either left them or blah blah blah. And that's the idea. Like no matter what you do, we can see through that. And then the other thing was too was, you know how some people, they're very different online compared to how they are is like in real life. Like they're amazing people in real life, but they say or do the weirdest things that are so out of their character online, probably because like there's no filter, right? You can get away with a lot more. So it's that idea that like, why are we so different online than we are in real life? So that was his way of like, okay, I'm done with that. And then it was like, okay, we're ending the album with this. Why not really just give the audience what they want and put an Alkaline song and a Blink-182 and put them together with 4 lines? Because we also really, really liked the brand new and Taking Back Sunday layered vocals that they do, especially because we have 2 singers, so why not? So we were like, why don't we just make this 4 thing that somehow works? And it was the same chord progression as Radio, and Feeling This. So we were like, yeah, let's put that in with our 2 lines too. Like, I like you IRL, but not on the internet. I like you in real life, but not on the internet. Like that's specifically what that line is reaching out to. But I also think like it really resonated more with people, like, and that's why I liked, my personal favorite was Replacement, because it's so real and raw of a song, where it's trying to be decent when you don't want to be, and I just always love that song. Like Replacement to me, other than Jakar, are my 2 favorites. But I know like My God, You're Boring is really taken off for a lot of fans right now. They'll come up and be like, My God, It's Boring, and then Nick won't play it live. And I'm like, Nick, we got to do it. He's like, I only want to do it on special occasions. I'm like, okay, fine. So we did it for the release. So that release will finally go up. And if you want to see how we do live, check out our YouTube page, because it will eventually have that whole show on there. And that's a great interpretation of how we do live.
Replacement was another one that we were bouncing back and forth to the team as far as something to discuss, because that's another great song off Art Theft.
I love doo-wop. I grew up with doo-wop. My dad was a big Beach Boys fan. So like anything, and Misfits, obviously, right? That's all doo-wop. That's what it is. So for me, like I just love everything about Replacement, everything about it. And I just love Nick's story on that, which that's a Nick story. I can't get into that, but that's a really cool song for that.
So I guess we'll have to have Nick on next. We can talk about that. After,
you need to have Nick is
after
very,
vinyl's printed.
Nick is very like Nick is very like, you know, he's layered. Whereas like, and he's gonna overthink everything he says, and it's gonna come out perfect. Whereas mine is like, I'm just gonna spew 1,000 things at you, and 10 of it's good. So,
yeah, I like the spaghetti method.
Yeah, it's perfect. Works great. It seemed to work for me so far. So may as well just keep going with it.
That's all I got as far as songs. You guys got more you want to talk about?
No, I mean, we talked about new music. That was where I was going next. Along with that new music, maybe a tour of some sort. Who knows?
Where are you going next there, Benny? I know 2 shows in August. What else you got? Oh, wait, 2 days from now, which will probably happen after this comes out or before this?
Probably before this comes out.
Yes. So
yeah, our good buddies, Shitty Neighbors, are handing in the towel, so we're gonna play that show with them. They asked if we could do that. July is a lot of family time for a lot of the band members, so we're going to take a little bit of time off for July. Hoping to do the video in July, so maybe that'll come out soon. August we have a very busy. We're going to be at Crispy Fest.
I got tickets. I'll be there.
We're going to be at Splish Splash, taking a
I'll be
bath.
there.
There's another. We got the Mustard Plug show at Frankie's.
Yes.
We're playing.
Nice.
So that's going to be really cool. It's the first time we're playing with Mustard Plug.
I will be at all three.
Wild.
Three. I will see you.
Wild. So we're really excited about that and start having a good networking relationship with them. And then September we have the benefit show. And then November is possible. A couple days with somebody special. Can't say it yet, but keep a lookout for that. And then December is our Christmas Night show, which I love to do every year down here in my hometown. So we'll be doing that. So, and it's really cool if you, like I said, if you start coming to some of our shows, my older brothers, my twin and my older brother, we were both older brothers, are going to be in an adjacent band, a punk adjacent band called the Dads on Couches. So check them out because Capal's rule. I'm plugging them.
Nice job.
Family Crest is pretty awesome, though. I can tell you that much.
I love, and I want to, anybody who's listening to this, because I'm sure you're part of the ska scene. Like, thank you so much for just being so accepting of everyone and being just always supportive. Like, whether or not it's comfortable or not comfortable, you're always supporting the scene. And I wish Nick and I would have been able to do this earlier. I'll put it that way, because it has been just pure love for us. So thank you, listeners, too.
And it is my personal prediction that by the end of 25, you will be a breakout band. Like, the world needs to see Boy Detective.
But if that happens, Eric, then I got to be back on the show when that happens.
Okay. And then I'll be like, I was right. Look at you guys. All right.
What's the month?
Shoot. I will go.
Right after
I will go by September of 2025.
Okay.
You will be known outside of Michigan.
I am a big fall fan. Like half of our band have birthdays in either late September.
I think Supernova, because I think by Supernova next year, you guys are going to be known outside of our little circle. You deserve to be. You guys are fucking amazing.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And my goal is to help another junior detective band out there to get to this point, because it's been absolutely wonderful. And I gotta give proper thanks to the Detroit scene for helping us and getting us on a lot of really awesome shows. And I gotta vouch for Jay and Eric. They have done a ton for us. And there might be some cool stuff that they might be involved with us. So,
ooh, I feel like that's a teaser, but I'll take it.
All kinds of things.
I don't know.
Nice.
Some cool things. Maybe some more stage
cool
stuff. I don't know. Who knows?
So if you guys don't know Boy Detective, check them out and keep following them, because there's a lot in the works.
Thank you.
Right.
And then I got to thank Brandon and Punkerton. They have been doing wonderful too. And all of our brother and sister bands on our label. They're wonderful. They've been really, really supportive. And I got to thank all the bands and specifically all the fans that have come out, because this is the first time in my life that I've had people drive more than 10 minutes to come see a show. So
2 hours
means Ryan, I owe you like 5 shows now. We'll go with 1 now, because I'm really trying to get that to work. But yeah, it's really cool to see people willing to take time out of their busy schedules to come see us. So I appreciate that. I really do.
So shut us down here. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us websites. Tell us what shows are coming up. Like, let the world know how to find you guys.
Well, you can find me in the floor with all the fans at any of the Boy Detective fans. or any of the Boy Detective shows. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music. We're on all the listening stream platforms. You can check us out at punkertonrecords.com. We're on, obviously, we're on the bands there, and I'm sure when things come, there'll be some things you could buy there. You can check us. Our link tree is really the best thing that kind of gets you to every platform you need, whether it be Bandcamp or Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It's all there. Or you just ask this awesome podcast, where can I reach Mr. Benny Capaul, and I'm sure they will send you out to where you need to go. I'm not hard to find. It's being a funeral director in a very small town. So just ask you contact me at a decent time if you're going to go that route. I do have kids, so but yeah, honestly, I'll put it this way. If you're listening and you're like 50-50 on, do I want to give this band a chance? I ask that you come to one live show. And if you don't get your money's worth, you let me know and I'll give you your money back for that. Because we're going to give it to you full force. That sounds sexual and it wasn't meant to be.
I was going to say you will get your money's worth, but upon your last comment, I don't know if I want to say that anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
Maybe tonight's date night.
Oh my gosh. I wish every night was date night. Anyways, thank you all so much for having me on. Like, this has been awesome.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day, Benny. All the hats you wear, all the service to your community, the service to ska music and the punk scene. Appreciate you, my friend.
Oh,
and seriously, ska festivals, like, pay attention. Get this band on. You will not be disappointed. Jess will get you on Croydon Fest. I can't guarantee it, but Jess can, right, Jess?
I mean, I'll try.
She'll try.
Eric's saying September is going to be quite the month next year. So I mean, we need to be ready.
All right.
Part of that is obviously Croydon Fest. So we need
it all needs to start in April.
That's the start. That's the start.
That is the road to Supernova.
That's the road, baby.
Supernova. Then you'll be playing Little Caesars. It'll be great.
Oh my gosh, I that would be much.
Little Caesars?
Because I even said to Nick, I was like, I don't know if we can still do this if there ever comes a day where they're like, Ben, you can't be out in the public anymore. Like, that's gonna hurt my soul. That's gonna hurt my soul. I don't know if I'll do it. That's when we have to be just good enough where we don't hit that platform.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Just one level behind. Really.
Or they're like, no matter what we do, he's going to do it anyway, so you might as well let him do it. You know, just let me be in the middle of the pit. It's fine. Just don't hit me. Don't knock me out, I mean.
So I will see you in 2 days or -2 days, depending on when this comes out. I will see you twice in August. Jess is coming at the end of August. Ryan, you got a 2-hour drive. Are you coming on Thursday? Don't answer that question because you're going to say no and it's going to make me sad. But he'll be there in August. All right, Jess, you want to close this out?
I love how you're manifesting me being there in August.
You're not
going to take no for an answer, are you?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Benny. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get you out of Michigan real soon for us that are not there.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any opportunity to get these detectives out. One case at a time, right?
One case at a time.